Good evening, everybody. It's on? Yes. Okay, I'm a little late if you're here at 8 or a little early if you're jumping on at 8:05. I know I said 8:05. It's been interesting with YouTube lately. I'm on Ethernet now. For people who have been at the previous concert that I did of this about a week and a half ago, we did sound checks. Everything was fine. Um, and then at night, the sound was very distorted. And I do remember President Biden was on. It was a announced presidential speech that they announced earlier in the day. And so that he came on exactly when I came on. And I think the internet traffic was jammed and the connections were all messed up and the sound was distorted. I wasn't happy with it. I'm never happy unless everyone is happy. And I decided then to do it again. Here we are tonight. And I went to log in earlier. This is what happens before we actually look at the music and enjoy the concert. Magic of technology is when I went to click on the link. I hope you, whoever was on the previous one, you're here now. So I'm kind of playing the game of waiting. I don't have any good jokes to tell, so I'm just going to be honest and tell you what happened earlier. I did an Instagram chat with Schultz Bodnar and from Living the Classical Life earlier. And right before we started, I checked on this link to make sure I can get into it with my webcam. And it said streaming software. I'm like, well, I don't have anything streaming. I need a webcam. And YouTube doesn't give me the option to switch that. So I was in a jam after the Instagram event, and I couldn't figure it out. And God bless my students. I call a couple of students who do these things all the time, and they were in the same thing too. They go, "Well, but you can't do that with YouTube. You can't change a streaming software to your webcam." For anyone who understands what I'm talking about, God bless you, because I almost don't understand what I'm talking about. And I'm killing time waiting for people to come on over from the other link because I redirected them because I had to create a new link to this event that you're watching now. You may not have had the other link before, but if you had the other link, you were directed here because now I was able to have the webcam. But what I'm seeing in my vision in this particular video is the video backwards, but we tested it before with Evan, the proprietor of the series, to make sure that when I'm playing up the keyboard, you see me going up the keyboard, not the other way. Everything looks kind of reversed to me, but I think you're seeing me on your left, but I see me on my right. I don't know why. I have not had this problem before. I cannot change the image. On Zoom, you can. I learned that you can change the mirror image and flip it. On this, you can't, so I just have to get used to it a little bit. It's like a hall of mirrors to me. In any event, at this event, we're going to try to have some fun. I'm going to play this Gershwin show again, and maybe it'll be better than last time. I don't know. Hopefully, it's an interesting phenomenon, George Gershwin. Life cut too short. Well, so was Chopin and Schubert and Mozart. So many lives cut short. But what he left us with is such an incredible legacy of music. And what I've come to know over the years of Gershwin's music, and thanks to Alicia Zizzo, who's been a friend for many years, she was responsible through the kindness of Ed Jablonski, who did the biography of George Gershwin, who said to her, there's a lot more to this than you know. And he helped her gain permission to excavate some of the music at the Library of Congress. She found excerpts of music, missing preludes. Did you know there were supposed to be 24 preludes by Gershwin? Like Chopin, 24 preludes he was to call the melting pot. Never happened. But she found a few other pieces that were part of that set. And they're quite interesting. But what I come to know about his music is kind of like what Beethoven had some tags. We call them tags. There's something that it's by that composer. And for Beethoven, it was ba-ba-ba-bum, just like in ba-ba-ba-bum, Fifth Symphony, or in the Appassionata Sonata, F minor. So his rhythmic tag is bum-bum-bum-bum. Well, so is Gershwin's ba-ba-ba-bum. A little different. but it's such an incredible motive. I wonder if he knew he was doing it consciously. I wish I could ask him, or subconsciously. Just like, did Gershwin realize that he was quoting Debussy in his music? Not exactly, but inspired by. And I'll go through that in a little bit. But the first piece doesn't have much of that in it. It's totally original and doesn't have those little rhythmic things in, except ba 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 bum ba bum dee la da dum is in there. The basic rhythm of ba 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 bum is in the Lullaby, which is his 1919 piece, and it's ba 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 bum. So you hear that rhythm ba 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 bum, or bass, or ba 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 bum, which is like The Man I Love, or Rhapsody in Blue, or Good Evening Friends, the vaudevillian tag. Did he do that consciously? We don't know, but it appears in his music. You will hear in the Lullaby, you will hear it in Blue Monday when I play that in here. You hear it in Rhapsody in Blue and The Man I Love. So it became his thing, you know? And I'll talk about a few of those other similarities. Okay, so the first piece that Gershwin had published, a piano piece, there was a piece in 1915 that was his first published song. 1916 is the Rialto Ripples, which is kind of a rag. And the thing about Gershwin's style is I try to go back to his time. What did he know? He knew Chopin, he knew Ravel, he knew Debussy's music. He knew not to swing. Nothing was really swung back then the way they did in the 1930s and 40s and thereafter with ba 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 bum ba ba. It wasn't quite like that. It was more bum 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 bum, a gentle little lilt, but not swung like da 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 da. And that's the pitfall I felt I was going into with his music until I realized, hearing his old piano rolls, he doesn't do that. Much more straightforward. So the Rialto Ripples of 1916, under the title, says rag. So it's like ragtime. Have a listen to it. It's Gershwin's original. I'm going to read some of these here, and thank you. Yes, exactly. We're doing it again, and hopefully the sound is better. The gain is way down on the mic, and hopefully this will sound pleasant for you. Hope you enjoy it. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed that. How's the sound? I am checking here to make sure. Oh, all right. Thank you, Ron. Appreciate it. It's also new because when you flip flop from Facebook to YouTube and Zoom, this changes and everything changes. So we have to just make sure it's pleasant for everybody. So then we come to this wonderful piece called Lullaby. And it's 1919. And Gershwin had a theory teacher who told him to write things and do things. This was one of them. And I think the Juilliard Quartet in the 1960s did a quartet version of this. But here is the piano realized version by Alicia Zizzo, arranged for piano. And it's a wonderful piece. And you hear this, which he brings back as one of the female themes in the Blue Monday opera. A few little things in here come back in Blue Monday, but you hear that basic rhythm, ta tam, and bum 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 bum, and the man I love, or good evening friends, whatever it may be. You'll hear these wonderful things. I don't have my page turner here tonight, so this is going to be a little bit of a game. I kind of figured out where to pull the papers away and how to play as cohesively as I can. So please bear with me. I don't use the contraptions where you press a pedal or something, because I'm busy using the piano pedals. And if that ever had a glitch, I won't be happy, and neither will you. So I'd rather just do it this way, the old-fashioned way, taped together and just remove them as I need to. So I hope you enjoy this. This is the Lullaby from 1919. It's a wonderful little piece. Thank you. We have a little time here to move some things around. So, we come now to, well, I'm going to do this first, actually. This is kind of interesting. You know, when Gershwin went to meet Maurice Ravel in Paris, the little story goes like this. He wanted to study with Ravel. And Ravel asked him, how much money do you make? I hear you're doing really well. And Gershwin told him, Ravel says to him, oh my gosh, I should be studying with you. And Gershwin asked, well, I really do want to study with you. And he says, well, I have an idea. Why don't you just try to be a first-rate Gershwin instead of a second-rate Ravel? Wow. What a line. What a line. But he loved Debussy also. I don't think Gershwin ever met Debussy. That'd be interesting. But he studied his music. And there is a concerto by Gershwin, which you know goes like this. Well, the Prelude of the Sweet Bergamasque by Debussy starts like this, in the same key. Gershwin. There's even a little theme in the second page of the Prelude by Debussy that goes. And Gershwin uses that in the second movement of the Concerto in F. So interesting to hear these little inspirations in music. I'm wondering if there's anything I'm missing. I don't think so. I like to look at the sheet. Sometimes it tells me Blue Monday. Well, we'll talk about that. The Debussy Prelude to Concerto in F and that. Oh, there's such an interesting thing that happens. I always feel like this is the first time I've ever done this lecture. In the Debussy, you hear this. I really want to, if you could hear this little thing. Where is that? Yeah. So. If you listen to the inner notes, well, there's two things that Gershwin does. First, he does it in the Rhapsody in Blue when the piano comes in. Gershwin. A couple of years later, here it is. It's in there too. Very subtle references and inspirations. So what I'd like to do is play the Prelude of Debussy before playing more Gershwin. It's very interesting to hear. You'll hear a lot of little things of Gershwin in here because he was inspired by him. Once again, I'm going to look at the chat and make sure that everybody's hearing everything okay. Okay, thank you. So glad you liked the page turn. I didn't. Oh, here is Prelude from the Sweet Bergamasque of Debussy. Lovely piece. Thank you. Yeah. So you have, I'm going to put these away. Let me just see if I'm missing anything in here. That's in the Debussy. So I brought out all those little points. When you get to Blue Monday now, this is in 1922. And mind you, Gershwin was already composing so many different pieces and shows. He was going back and forth to Boston and other places. And those little years there between 1919 and 23, I would be very interesting to do more performances of music from that period. But this is 1922. He was asked to write this opera. It's a short one. It didn't really last. It was a weak story in a way, but the music survived. And that's why he was asked to write Rhapsody in Blue for early 1924, because the music was so good. And I'm going to try to see if I could see all of this music. It should work out. Just bear with me. It's a home concert, so, hey, anything goes. But it's such an interesting piece because you hear the seeds of so many things that came after, but you do hear that rhythm, yep, ba ba bum, yep, ba ba bum, ba ba bum, ba 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 bum, and you hear that rhythm throughout the piece. You hear some ragtime, and you hear some of the dancing girls, the music in there, some of the dances, and then you hear a little of from the Lullaby of 1919. He recycles it. So there's things like that in this piece. I'm trying to see. I have a little cheat sheet here, but I just make sure that I got everything in there. Yup, bum, 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 bum. The rhythm of Blue Monday. Yup, bum, bum. And yes, it's pretty much all there. You're going to hear the little fragments of themes that he does use from before, takes from this and uses later. But Alicia Zizzo took the opera and put it into a piano solo suite. And it's sweet. It's really nice. So bear with me on these page turns. I'm going to just try to do them at the best times I can because there's a lot of music here. But this really is the piece that made Rhapsody in Blue happen. And it's important to hear. later. I'll put this here. Put this here. This. Oh, thank you. I hope you enjoyed that. It's a remarkable piece. And I hope that the sound is okay. Good. Everybody's happy with the sound, so I'm glad that's working out. What a piece. You hear the ending is Good Evening Friends, and it ends in B flat major, and Rhapsody in Blues goes to B flat major. Interesting. He connected the pieces somehow. He liked B flat major. You know? A favorite key for him. Every composer has their favorites. I think B flat major was a G minor, and B flat major for Gershwin, I think, were his favorites. So then we come to Rhapsody in Blue. So, ba-ba-ba-bam, there's that rhythm. That was not Rhapsody in Blue. It's not Rhapsody in Blue. I think I'm crazy. It's not Rhapsody in Blue. What was Rhapsody in Blue, we will never know. Take some time, go to YouTube and type in the search. Ferde, F-E-R-D-E, Grofe, G-R-O-F-E, Rhapsody in Blue. That may be where you'll find an interview that he himself had about that visit before it was premiered. And George brought Rhapsody in Blue. George was not a slouch as an orchestrator. I mean, he was in a hurry. So he needed some help. So in his music, he would write, the banjo here, and the strings are here, and the sax is there, and the piano's here. What do I do when we don't play? So he says, wait for a nod. That's what he said to the conductor, to Paul Whiteman. Wait for a nod. I will nod. You come in. And what was in that spot there that became, we'll never know. I wonder where that is. I wonder if it's in the Library of Congress, or maybe he threw it away. There was something else there. And Grofe said when he got to that point in the music, he didn't like it. He says, it's not that he didn't like it. I think you listen to the interview, and he says it doesn't fit. It doesn't belong there. What else you got? Sure, pull a rabbit out of your hat. What else you got? I'm in the middle of a piece that's going to be premiered in 3 weeks. What else do I have? I don't know. I wrote this in 1919. A song. He wrote it as a song. I'd like to see the original version of that. But Grofe liked it. And Freddie Grofe said to him, let me sleep on this and I'll call you in the morning. He didn't have email. I'll call you in the morning. Wow. Haven't heard that in a long time. And he called him in the morning. He says, it kept me up all night. I can't get that theme out of my head. That's what you're putting in there. That's how it got there. It's a great story. And I would have known it unless I heard it on YouTube. YouTube's great because there's some wonderful things on there, historical things that are so enlightening and really give validity to things that we didn't know existed. That interview is fabulous. You should listen to it. It's wonderful to hear his voice tell this story of Rhapsody in Blue. And the original score was what they played in 1924. And if you listen to some of the rolls, the Gershwin piano rolls, you hear things that are a little different than what we've heard years later. So I kind of went back to that, and I coupled that with what Alicia Zizzo did by creating an annotated solo version of Rhapsody in Blue with all the 88 extra missing measures from the music that she saw from way back when. That's now public domain. And there's now a new critical edition, and I've not played. Whenever I would play the piano version, the original version with orchestra, I'd say, geez, I wish there would be a score for the orchestra that they really played. It exists now, finally exists, and Ryan Banagal had put it together. I performed it and hope to record it, I think, in a couple of months. And it's a different sound. It's a wonderful sound. It's the sound he wanted. Smaller, leaner sound, dance band sound. And it gives the piano a chance to really play in that style, that light dance band, the light style. It's a potpourri of music of Gershwin's, some Jewish dances like Freilachs and the Kazatsky, and you hear that ba 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 bam ba ba throughout the whole thing. It's just a culmination of everything he's done up until then. So this is going to be the solo version of the Rhapsody in Blue, piano and orchestra, and then I'll do a little surprise encore after. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I see. Oh, thank you. Alicia, you're here. Hello. It's so good to see everybody here. Truly, it's such a wonderful piece, and it's always so new. Such a remarkable piece. Now, I'll tell you a little secret. Well, it's not a secret anymore. I wanted to celebrate Rhapsody in Blue because it's such a special piece. And it was that one piece that, I had to please my father and my mother with, and it took so many years. Finally, my father would say, "You finally got it." It's a certain style he grew up with. And I had to work hard to kind of strip the certain things that were of the traditional repertoire style and go back to Gershwin. And so it's the kind of piece that I want to celebrate in honor of so many people who have helped maintain its success. So many wonderful artists have performed this piece, have added things to it to make it their own. And it's so refreshing to hear this piece be played in so many different ways. And it works. You're not harmonica, it just works. It's a fabulous piece. It's one of the greatest pieces of American music in the history of American music. And what I'm going to do is the centennial will be in January, February 19th, 2024. And I decided to celebrate that centennial, not only with performances of the Rhapsody in Blue, but to usher in a new Rhapsody. And very carefully chose the composer, Peter Boyer, who's been writing some exceptional American music that's being embraced by army bands and symphony orchestras all over the country, and Boston Pops and Cincinnati, and his recordings and his Ellis Island work is fabulous. And I asked Peter, and he was, well, I don't know if I could do this. I said, you could do it. And he says, well, what about, Gershwin? I said, well, don't try to be another Gershwin. Be a first-rate Peter Boyer, not a second-rate George Gershwin. Here's those words 100 years later. And he's doing it. And not only that, I wanted to make it a 50-state project. And there's some orchestras already responding, some conductors, and did a lot of homework on that during the pandemic to raise the necessary monies to pay for the piece. So we'll celebrate it with a new, here goes, drum roll, Rhapsody in red, white, and blue. And I want to cover every state in the country, possibly abroad, and we'll not have to ask orchestras for any funding, which will be kind of nice coming out of the pandemic for them. And we'll be able to celebrate the centennial of Rhapsody in Blue with a new piece, juxtaposing it. And something I've wanted to do for a few years, and it's going to happen. So I want to finish, and then we'll do some questions and answers. American music, what does American music mean to me? What does it mean to anybody? As a pianist, I played all kinds of different American music, never as much as there's so much. And I decided after Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away to write a piece of music for piano solo. There'll also be a new piece for vocalist, piano and orchestra that I'll be doing with Denise Graves. Premiere will be in October, but I cannot say where, not yet. It'll come out next week. And I decided to write this piece in honor of her. So this is what I feel American music means to me now, and how I would write for piano if I were, a more busier composer. This is my one of the pieces I wrote during 2020. And I've taken the letters of her name to create the piece as RBG and RUTH and all her names, and translated into the musical alphabet. And at the very end, you could hear her nickname K-I-K-I, Kiki, which is just K-I-K-I near the very end. So I want you to be able to hear this and just imagine the spirit of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. You'll hear the RBG notes, which is things like that, or Ruth and Bader and Ginsburg. So you'll hear all of these names come to life in music. And toward the middle of the piece, one of the climax, you hear the Star Spangled Banner with all of her names, and then two big chords with long arms of the law, as I say. And that's the major big climax of the piece, because I needed a lot of sound and I couldn't do it with 5 fingers, so I'm using my entire arm. Here it is. This is a reflection of justice, an ode to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Thank you so much. I'll bring this in, and maybe we could do some, okay, questions and answers. Thank you all. Anybody have any questions? To answer some, I could do it. You can ask me actually, because we're not doing audio, but you can ask me through the chat session there. You could just write some questions, and I can answer them that way if that's helpful. Thank you for your comments, and it's good to see a lot of friends who continue to come to these online concerts, which are fun. Anybody have some questions? I'd love to answer them if you have some. And I'm just waiting, taking a deep breath. No? Anybody? Everybody, thank you so much for being here. And this was I hope this was better than the last one. I mean, it's very tricky to do online concerts with sound. We have a question. As you composed the piece, it changed from its years. Yes, Hey, Brett. Hello, Evan and Beth, and I sound like Romper Room. Good morning to everybody. Thank you, Scott. The score for my RBG piece, that's available. I think it's through my website, but also if you go to my score at JW Pepper, I think it should be up there and available. A question was about how the pieces evolved. My piece, I think that's what you're speaking of, how it's changed to its breathing more, counting it differently. I'm letting it breathe, just enjoying the sonorities a bit more. And yes, I had to live with the piece for it to develop to get to yeah, absolutely. If you're reading the chat and Evan is saying how to live with the piece to have it develop and have more breath. Well, that goes for every piece we play. But when it's your own music, it's really odd. It'd be interesting to have heard composers. Yes, very much like the Bolat comment about Beethoven. You said about the checkers. Jorge Bolet said, he said, maybe I play Beethoven sonatas better than Beethoven did because I lived with them longer. I lived with them for 40 years. Beethoven didn't. There's something to be said for that. But when it's your own, you have a sense of freedom with it. It still has a structure, but it breathes differently for the performer, for the composer, than it does if someone else were to play it. But already some wonderful performances have come of this piece that I've watched on YouTube, and they're wonderful. And I hope more pianists will play it. It'd be very nice to hear other people play your own music. It's a really interesting feeling. And I enjoy that, to see people embrace my music. So I hope you can find that there online. And thank you. My cousin Alice is there. She enjoys hearing it. It's an interesting piece. I mean, I didn't really know what to do when I was writing it, thinking, what do I do? I'm looking at blank music. I'm no Beethoven, but I thought of her name and just how do you immortalize a name? How do you write music based on the name? And putting the musical alphabet to coincide with those letters was a lot of fun, because when I ran out of letters, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H became became the next B, and the next C became I. So that's how I put it together and made music out of it. So I think just, we sometimes we just never know what we're going to do when we're writing music. It just comes out. I wish I had video of the original, how it was done and what I did at the piano to see, oh, wow, I didn't realize I was doing that. Things like that. Composers, we should get videos of composers writing their music, because that to me is the creative process. That would be so nice to see. Jeff Levitt asked if it was recorded. Yes, this will be on my YouTube channel. You can come back to this link anytime and watch it anytime. You may get the opening sound checks, which were very necessary. I hope that it helped, that you could hear everything better. And Evan says, did I have a sense of the sonorities I created today when you were writing? I think when you are writing something, you hear it inside of you. And you try it at the piano to see if it sounds like what you think it sounds like inside of you. And then you play around with it. I mean, I've changed that opening so many times, the first couple of lines with the RBG notes, because I didn't want it to sound like the NBC theme. And other things. I did different things. I still have the original, what I did with them, and some of the videos may still be online from the original versions. And it'd be interesting, I haven't done it, but to go back and listen to those and hear if it's grown from within more. It's one of those kind of pieces. I hope it becomes a piece that pianists will play. This would be nice. They're always looking for new music by living composers. I'm still here. So hopefully they could find it and play it. Are there any more questions? That was a really, really good question, because it related to something that I created, not that I was recreating of another composer. So is there anyone? I have created a YouTube link for an April 10 concert for Brooklyn College, where I'm on faculty. So some pieces will be different, of course. And if you want to hear that, you can mark it in your calendar or just follow my YouTube channel, Biegel88. And I'll do more. We'll have fun. Hope you enjoyed this. It was a lot of fun to play this concert. Gershwin, you can never go wrong with. And we'll be celebrating him big time pretty soon. It's a couple of years away. So have a good night and stay safe, and all the best. Thank you. Bye-bye.